In 2019, a 24-year-old man walked into a forest in Japan. He told his friends he would be back by sunset. They found him 6 days later. He was alive. But whatever he saw inside that forest, he has never spoken about it again. This is what the camera captured in his final 47 seconds inside. And this is just the first story. Welcome to the Pale Myth, where the darkest stories are always the true ones. His name was Daniel. He was 24 years old, a travel blogger from the United Kingdom. He had visited over 30 countries. He was experienced, he was careful, and he was not the kind of person who scared easily. In October of 2019, Daniel decided to visit Aokigahara, a dense and ancient forest at the base of Mount Fuji in Japan. Most people know it by its other name, the Suicide Forest. For decades, hundreds of people have walked into those trees and never walked out. The Japanese government stopped publishing the death count years ago because the numbers were too disturbing for the public to know. Daniel knew all of this before he went. That is exactly why he went. He posted a short video at the forest entrance before going in. He was smiling. He told his friends he would be back by sunset and not to worry. He entered the forest at 2 p.m. By 4 p.m., his location had stopped updating on his phone. His friends waited at the entrance until it was completely dark. He never came out. Search teams entered the following morning. Deep inside the forest, roughly 2 miles in, they found his camera hanging from a tree branch by its strap. The last recording on that camera was 47 seconds long. Daniel was standing completely still, staring at something just off camera. He wasn't speaking, he wasn't moving, he was just staring. And then the recording ends. Daniel was found 6 days later. He was alive, but when rescuers reached him, he was sitting on the forest floor in complete silence, eyes open, staring at the exact same spot in the trees. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't moved. For 6 days. When they finally got him to a hospital, he couldn't speak for 3 weeks. And when he finally did speak, he said only one thing.
I couldn't leave. Something was making me stay.
He never explained what he saw during those 47 seconds. He deleted every one of his social media accounts, and he has never spoken publicly again. Most people know Paris for its lights, its beauty, its history. But beneath those beautiful streets, there are 200 miles of tunnels, and inside those tunnels are the remains of over 6 million people, stacked floor to ceiling, wall to wall, for miles. The official tourist entrance is heavily monitored, but there is an unofficial entrance, and in 2017, 3 friends decided to use it. Their names were Marcus, Sophie, and Ryan. They were experienced urban explorers. They had done this many times before. They had maps, they had flashlights, they had a plan. They entered at midnight. For the first hour, everything was fine. The tunnels were dark but passable. The walls were lined with millions of skulls and bones. But they had seen this before. They kept moving. Then, at exactly 1:17 in the morning, Ryan stopped walking. Marcus turned around. Ryan was standing completely still, facing the wall of bones. Marcus asked him if he was okay. Ryan didn't answer. Sophie touched his shoulder. He turned around slowly. His face was completely blank. No expression, no recognition. He looked at both of them like he had never seen them before in his life. Then he turned back to the wall and started walking deeper into the tunnel, away from the exit. Marcus grabbed him. Ryan fought back, hard. It took both of them to pull him away from the darkness. They dragged him toward the exit. Ryan was screaming the entire time. Not words, just screaming. They made it out at 2:43 in the morning. Ryan collapsed on the street outside. When he woke up, he had no memory. Not the tunnels, not the bones, not the screaming, nothing. Marcus reviewed the GoPro footage when they got home. The camera had captured everything, but at the exact moment Ryan stopped moving, the camera malfunctioned. 47 seconds of static, then it came back on. Ryan was already screaming. 47 seconds. The same amount of time as Daniel's last recording in Aokigahara. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Louisville, Kentucky. Between 1910 and 1961, an estimated 8,000 people died inside that building, most of them from tuberculosis. The patients who died were removed through a hidden tunnel, built in the basement, so the other patients wouldn't see the bodies being carried out. That tunnel has one name now, the Death Tunnel. Her name was Claire. She was a paranormal investigator. She had visited dozens of haunted locations across America. She had investigated Waverly Hills 3 times before. She knew every floor, every room, every corridor. She went alone on her 4th visit. She told her team she would be back in 2 hours. That was at 9 p.m. By midnight, she hadn't returned. Her team called the police. Officers entered the building at 12:30 a.m. They found Claire at 1:30 a.m. She was in the death tunnel, sitting on the floor, facing the wall. Her flashlight was still on. Her equipment was still recording. She was completely unresponsive, eyes open, breathing, but completely gone. She didn't speak for 4 days. When she finally did speak, she said she had only been in the tunnel for 5 minutes, not 4.5 hours, 5 minutes. She had no memory of anything else. Her recording equipment had captured everything. 4.5 hours of footage. Claire, sitting on the floor, not moving, not speaking, for 4.5 hours. But in the recording, at the 47-second mark, the audio picks up a voice. Not Claire's voice. A different voice that whispers 2 words.
Stay here.
Claire has never returned to Waverly Hills. She has never explained what happened in those 4.5 hours. She says she doesn't remember. She says she doesn't want to. 3 people, 3 locations, 3 encounters. Daniel in the forest, Ryan in the tunnels, Claire in the dark. Each of them lost time. Each of them lost something they can never explain. And each of them lost it at exactly the 47-second mark. Whatever waits at the 47-second mark, it has been there a long time. And it is very patient. If you're thinking about visiting a place like this, remember their stories. Some doors are closed for a reason. Subscribe to The Pale Myth, because the darkest stories are always the true ones.